Welcome to SwarmCast, the marketing hive for pest control pros from coast to coast. If you're tired of your competition bugging you and want to grow your business like a well-built colony, you're in the right place. Each episode, we'll break down the latest marketing trends, expert insights, and proven strategies to help you exterminate the competition and keep your phones buzzing. So strap in, pest bosses. It's time to swarm the market and take your business to the next level. This is SwarmCast.
Today on the SwarmCast, we're joined by Alex Brooks, founder of Local Service Legends. That's a great name. I like what you came up with there. Alex has built a platform. He's dedicated to elevating the trades by telling real stories of people. How does he do that? He goes behind the scenes, goes to these local trade service businesses, meets up with them. With his background in entrepreneurship and marketing, his mission is simple: shine a spotlight on the people that are doing this and the essential businesses that serve their communities every day. I watched two of them. They were awesome. Today, we're going to talk about his journey, the impact on the trades, and what pest control owners, that's what we're all about here, pest control, can learn from legends like he features. Okay, Alex, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and have a conversation today.
Awesome. Believe it or not, you're the last podcast of the year.
Oh man, pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Now,
Gotta be great.
That's all right. So what happened is we were both at Pest World, and I saw this guy in a crew lugging around some camera gear, and there you are. I was like, hey, let's meet this guy. What is he doing? And I think you were working with the Goings. Is that right? Were you working with those guys? Or were you working with somebody else? Okay.
So yeah, great question. Yeah, so I can't remember if it was episode 9 or 10. I set up filming and the camera angles for the episode that we did that was at Pest World. So that was pretty cool. But I'm also on the show.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. I'm also on the show for Pest Talks. So I'm a regular cast member.
Awesome. Well, I was at the pool and I saw you working your magic. I didn't interrupt though. I did take a picture, and I think you were in the background. I'll have to send that one out to you. But it was great meeting you over there at the show. I know you were busy working it, but let's talk about what you're doing in the trades, because here in the marketing space, we're trying to help people market their businesses. And what happens is most business owners are busy doing what? They're working.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
What's happening in the industry that we need more guys like what you're doing, Alex? What's happening?
Well, the thing, so my background, I come from the marketing world. Part of my background, I come from the marketing world. I come from the startup world. Work with some companies that have went public over the years and have been acquired. So I have a unique perspective on seeing businesses being built from the ground up. My story in the trades really started in pest control. That's where I got exposed to this world and how things are being done. And the thing I realized is there's a lot of magic that's happening behind the scenes that keeps everybody safe. It keeps communities in order and in line. And these people are working so hard on what they do to keep society in line, that sometimes they don't have or find or make the time to tell the world about what they're doing. They're the unsung heroes. And this goes back to the marketing piece. It's great to do great work. You also do need to be comfortable telling people about what you do in a way that connects with them. So, and I think that's an important piece in the trades. But as I started to, meet more professionals in pest control and other, trade areas, I realized there's this magic that's happening that fascinated me, that without it, you would see a lot of chaos in our communities. You think about pest control, and if there's a serious rodent issue, they spread disease. There's a lot that they could do in terms of damage to a person's home, or certain types of bugs. So that's just one example. A plumber is another example. if I just met with a few plumbers. I filmed one of our latest episodes, and there's a shortage in our region, and there's people on wait lists that need help. Maybe they have water that's not heating up. There's all these different things that happen behind the scenes with people in the trades that elevates the community and keeps the community in order. But it's so easy for us to, as society, to forget about these people because there's nobody, really sharing the good word of what they do, including the people who own the businesses. They're just doing the work. So, that's one of the things that I see and what I see happening or not happening that should be happening.
That's excellent. I mean, and just for the record here, Alex, I owned a pest control business as well. So I know exactly what you're talking about. During COVID, we were an essential business, right? We didn't get shut down. Why? Because pests need to get taken care of, especially when people are sheltering at home, right? So actually, the pest control business blew up during COVID because more people
Wow.
are staying at home. But having said that, I do think that the storytelling is so important. And you said a couple of key things that are really good about it's people connecting with people. And
Yep.
what's happening is people are becoming less and less trust. That they don't want to trust as much. So if you're not telling your authentic story, how you're making a difference, well, you're not going to get the opportunity to begin with, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so when you think about video and what an impact it has on trust, especially if you're sharing things where you're sharing education. Now, you're doing like a documentary style, and I loved it. You know, the one that was in Seattle, there was a big bag of hornets, in that little nest. I'm like, hey, whoa, 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 So you're getting in deep. You're actually, this is not in a studio that you're generating these stories. You get in the truck, you go with these guys, you document almost like a day in the life of, and maybe even put yourself in harm's way, man. Those hornets can be pretty mean, but that's good. It kind of reminds me of who's that guy that does a lot of these kind of things. And I'm going
The
back a
dirty
decade.
jobs.
Yeah, dirty Mike Rowe, right? Mike
Yeah,
Rowe.
yeah,
He
that's right.
actually he actually lives here in Tucson, where we're doing this podcast from. But yeah, Mike Rowe,
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, amazing what he's been able to do. But you've taken that and now you're making it real. Like if somebody has a pest control company and they're thinking about doing a story like this, will they just call you up and say, "Hey, when can you come down here and do this?" Is that how that works? How does that work?
So here's the caveat. And so, you think about what local service legends really the goal of this brand, this movement of what we're creating is one, we're trying to memorialize people who are legendary in their own right. And a lot of times it doesn't come from them saying, "Hey, I want you to do a story on me." In fact, for it to be featured on the show, I don't allow owners to be able to charge. That's not something that I am willing to accept money for because it needs to maintain and be authentic. And there's a whole new level of things that I would love to be able to do with this content over time. Being able to take it to the vocational schools and inspire the future generation. Inspire people who don't know much about this type of work and help them get educated. So it has to start from an authentic place where we are referred or companies reach out to us and say, "Hey, you need to film this, this particular company because they're doing something special in the community." And that's where it all starts, and that's what gives it that authenticity. Is we are finding companies that are legendary in their own right, and that's what's getting us to go out there and film them. The cool thing is it started, right now we're in Washington and Hawaii, but the vision is to take this across the nation where it becomes something that is a platform that really elevates how people look at the trades. I think that's the other challenge too is, I come from the tech background. I spent a lot of time in that space, and we've all glorified the tech space, which is great. But people have shone down or shone upon on the home services, the trades, the pest control. And that is the stuff that is the backbone of our communities. It really is. Without it, a lot of communities fall apart. you think about, I think you brought up electrician earlier, but you think about all these companies that want to use AI and all those things. There's the electricity component that powers any of those infrastructures. And if something goes down with that, then everything else from there falls apart. So the whole focus of our storytelling is to find those legendary companies who have a legendary story that I can talk about.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you see this big shift going on, right? People are in school and they're wondering if the degrees that they're going to be paying around, if there's going to be a job left in that industry. This is a real talk on the college level where nothing wrong with going to college and getting certain degrees, but what happens when AI replaces that? Is it going to replace somebody doing the electricity or the electrician? Is it going to replace somebody that's doing the pest control or the plumbing? Well, hey, robots are a long way off from being able to do that kind of stuff. So probably not anytime soon, but we need people in the trades that are holding the community together. I like that. So that kind of is an interesting concept where you're going out there and you're filming these legendary stories. Who's paying for this? That's a question I got to ask. Who is paying for that kind of stuff?
It's a great question. So right now I fund it. I've been in business for several years. I have a marketing firm that I ran for several years. And recently I made this shift because I thought this was interesting and it was inspiring and it was something I was really excited about. I've always loved telling stories. But this has become a new way for me to tell stories in the way I realize I've always dreamed of. So, the piece right now is I'm funding it, but my vision with this is a lot bigger than what people may think. I think this is the Red Bull of the home service industry. I think we're going to transform how people look at the trades. So I'm willing to bet my own dollar on what that's going to look like and build that up from the ground up. So yeah, funding the flights, getting to those locations, coming up with the equipment. It's been all funded by me.
Well, it says a lot about your passion, right? It sounds like it's more than just a passion project. I perceive that you're having a good time doing this. You're having a good time out there doing this. I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. His name is Marcus with LTK. And you guys have a lot of symbiotic things that you're talking about right now. Now, he's reaching out to the video game players in the pest control industry. And so I'm going to introduce you to Marcus after this. And he's talking about a lot of the same things that you are, trying to prop the industry up and let young ones and let ones know how important it is to be in the trades. And we're going to see this shift where more people are going to the trades because a lot of people in the trades are actually going to be making more money than people working the traditional office jobs. We're seeing that right now. Now, I'm heavily into the AI stuff. I wrote the AI book this year for pest control, the survival guide, and it's very much writing on the wall. It's either learn this stuff or you're going to get displaced by somebody that knows how to use it, right? So,
100%.
yeah, so it's like guys like you and me, well, we're using it. You might be using it for editing. We use it for creation, all kinds of stuff. But the creatives love it because you can take an idea and create examples of stuff really quick. And that's great when you work in it. It's not so great if you're one of those creatives that likes to building things from the ground up. And hey, all of a sudden, I can't keep up with that. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And so when we start thinking about the storytelling and what you're doing with the legendary business you're coming up with here, you're helping out with the trust component, right? A lot of things in marketing, we're going to see a lot of AI generated stuff on social media platforms. But when you have authentic content that you've made, there's a tremendous value there for building trust in that local legendary player that's out there, right? So,
Yep.
um, one of the other bullet points I had here is it says that contractor communities are the real distribution advantage. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the communities that we are sitting in, the communities that I'm filming in is where those stories start to get connected. So one of the things that I just worked on, we're teaming up with different associations. So the Chamber of Commerce's, the Builders Associations, local service legends, we want to be the designated storyteller of those areas, of those micro communities, because that's how we're going to really get the word out, and that's how we're going to be able to feature some of the legendary companies, in these different parts of the country. For now, starting with, like I said, Washington and Hawaii are some of the flagship states that we've started with, but being able to start with that model, I think we can replicate that over time and start to expand into some other communities.
That's awesome. And I'm thinking about, where when you're reaching out, you're doing a story. The second most visited page on a website is the about page. Think about that. The
Yeah.
about page. And usually there's a weak picture of the owner, maybe a paragraph of text. Imagine having a video like this that you would have on your about page. And they're
Well,
getting this. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, no, I was going to say one of the beautiful things about what I'm doing, and I realize that it has tenfold value, and some of the value I haven't even processed yet, but the companies that we do feature that do become local service legends, um, it's memorializing them in their own community. So that can be that media, that video that they have could be a recruiting tool. It also could be a segue to help them understand how they can start telling their own story beyond just that initial episode. That I mean, there's so many ways that it gets to connect. When I think about being in business for several years and understanding how important it is to connect with your audience, the people that you want to have as customers, they need to know that you're real, right? They need to know that you get up every day, put your shoes on and get out there and take care of whatever business is. They need to understand that you're human first. And when you get really good at doing that as a business owner, people can relate, and that's the good, the bad, and ugly. When you're able to find ways to share that in unique ways with your audience, then you build a connection because everybody's going through something. Everybody's having their own breakthroughs. Everybody's having their own moments. And the more you humanize your brand, whether it's a pest control company within your community, and this is the thing I talk to a lot, owners and operators, just different home service, traits is the thing that you have to think about is you are an extension of your community. That's number one, right? So if you are thinking about marketing your business in any form of fashion, you need to understand that. It's not me going out and servicing this house and servicing that house. You represent that community. So in order for you to really, build your brand and expand more, you have to think about ways to be a part of that community and have impact and also show parts of yourself that says, I'm human. I'm real. I'm also connected to this community. I may shop at this grocery store or that grocery store. So I think it's important for pest control owners to really understand that first point is you're an extension of the community that you serve or whatever communities you serve. So with that being said, that's how you need to start operating from a marketing perspective. You need to figure out ways to tell real stories of things. And the thing is, it's easy. It's really easy. It's so easy that they overlook it. You're already creating the stories every day. You're getting out there and doing this job for this house. You saved this person. Start telling those stories, because that's what people resonate with. There's somebody who don't know you yet that may see a story about some problem you solve that they're worried about that they have. There's only so many problems in the world in our communities that we deal with. And if you're solving these problems on a constant basis, you're solving problems that people will have in the future that don't know you yet. So, yeah, that's
Well,
kind of my thoughts.
what I like about what you're saying is, and this is earlier this year, I went to a conference in Cancun, and one of the ladies was an Emmy winner. Okay, her business is storytelling, like going out and shooting the video and telling your story in a format that's really going to benefit your business. So when somebody's getting this from you, the value is immense. She's charging, I want to say 30, 40,000, $50,000 for a video. Okay. So what that's telling you, especially the ones that are watching this, is you need to think about your business as a way of telling stories that you're already doing. How are you going to capture that? Now, if Legendary is not going to pick you and come out, you still need to have a media person that's helping you. What's
Yep.
hard is you don't want to build up necessarily anybody's personal brand because employees do what? They come, they go. You want to
Yep.
build up the company story and focus on your customer, right? Because that's what's telling your story. And we all know in sales, we all know that when we're teaching, people, like you said, Alex, they connect with what? The story.
Yep.
So if you're showing it, you're out there in the field, you're showing, hey, you're crawling under that foundation, or you're knocking down that hornet nest, whatever it is, fighting that beetle, whatever it is, people
Mhm.
are connecting with that. So I love it. Media is the power player, and I used to always say content's king. Yes, it is. You want people to connect with that story, but we also need to be asking and answering the questions that people want to know about what we're doing.
Yep.
There's that answer engine optimization or generative AI. If our story is giving those answers, like what is it like to deal with this particular pest problem? Or
Yep.
what's it like when you have to take a number because there's not enough plumbers in the area to take care of your problem? You're answering those with your video, you're connecting with people. And that's all social is. You add the media to it. It's telling stories, connecting with people, being authentic. What are you doing for people that, hey, they don't want to watch a long form video? What do you typically do for a hook to watch the videos you're putting out there right now? What do you typically like to do for somebody?
Well, you have there's a variety of types of audiences. And when we think about the content that we put out there, there's the long form, but there's the short form. You may have seen some of the teasers or shorts that we do that are probably anywhere from 15 to 20 seconds or maybe even 30 seconds long. And those tell stories. They're micro doses. They tell stories of a quick problem, or they present a problem and give you some clues on how it could be solved. And you see that all throughout, social media and all throughout how we process information these days. Everybody's so busy and they don't have a ton of time to look at things for a long period of time. And that's not everybody. That's a segment of people. And I'll add to that is a lot of times they don't have a ton of time to look at things until the interest is there. So if you look at our channel, we have a ton of shorts. Every episode that we drop has a dozen shorts that have preceded it that you can get snippets of what the episode is going to be about. So that can be very powerful. And the other thing I'll speak to what you were saying earlier, I think is really powerful to tell your story in short doses, and use social media, use Google or your Google business page. If you're doing a bait station treatment, or if you're doing exclusion work, you could talk about that in a paragraph or just a few sentences. And if you tailor that to the neighborhood or the part of town and the problem, there you go. You have something that is really SEO geared towards the conversation that a person may search for. So,
Love that. Love that. Now, one of the questions I have to ask you is on the impact on these efforts. What is the impact you're seeing from the work you've been doing? I'd love to hear
well,
some of those numbers. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's interesting. We started this back in August, and I'll give the premise. Going back a year or so ago, before I started this, I was doing ride-alongs with pest control companies because I just wanted to understand more about the industry. I just was fascinated. There was something that pulled me in, and I remember going on one of the ride-alongs, and I was like, man, this person is so interesting, and what we were doing, I thought was interesting, and I felt it should be documented. I was like, this would be cool, but I was like, I'm not going to be the person to do it. Like all this stuff sounds great, but I'm not going to be the person to do it. But fast forward a year later, and now that I've reflected, and I'll get into some of the numbers of traction that we've had, I realized that a majority of my life, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now is I've been wired to do this. I'm the person in a group of people that loves to, instead of being the center of attention, I like to be in the background. I like to see how the stories play out. Whether it's hanging out with friends, I'm always creating stories. I've always been that way. I enjoy that. I think it's part of me how I grew up is learning to read the room. Autobiographies. Always love autobiographies and documentaries. You think about Mike Rowe and Dirty Jobs. You think about David Attenborough, and his series on different parts of the planet and our wildlife. That stuff is my favorite stuff to do. So there was a lot of leading up to it that I just never even thought, and then it all kind of clicked once I started doing it. So we started doing this in August, and the first month we probably got over 20, 30,000 views from our content.
Wow.
Yeah, so it picked up really quick and fast forward now to today, since August, 5-ish months or so, we're almost at 100, we're over 120,000 views on our videos across all our channels right now. So we've been moving ahead full steam. And I feel like it's just the beginning. The cool thing is interacting with people in the industry, getting feedback from people in the pest control, in terms of how excited they are to see more of what I'm putting out. I got a message from a colleague that I met at Pest World, just sending me a text the other day that he got accepted in NPMMA, one of the programs, and it was out of the blue, but it was so cool. And then he led on to, and I congratulated him. He led on to ask us like, well, when's the next episode? What industry are you going to focus on? And that was a cool moment because people are seeing what I'm doing and they're starting to enjoy the impact. I think the next level going into this year 2026 is going to be a whole new level because we're going to start teaming up with different associations and organizations to be that storytelling element for them and for people in the trades. And I think that's going to quantify, that's going to elevate what we're doing on a deeper level because now we're impacting companies, but we're also impacting associations because it's elevating how they're able to portray the people that are a part of the association. So it's right now 10 episodes filmed. We have 7 that will be live. Episode number 7 is going to drop next week, and we've just had a ton of traction that I'm super grateful for. But it's the beginning of a marathon, so I'm in shape, ready to run.
That's awesome. I love what you're doing with it. You're doing a lot of good things. I mean, I think about the business owner, maybe that hasn't focused on a lot of media, right? Let's just say they're a pest control owner. They've been running this way for 10, 20 years. And suddenly you're telling me to carry a camera around or you're asking me to start telling my story. You've talked about trust as an important thing. It's not enough anymore to just, have a couple of Google 5-star reviews. You got to have a lot more than that now, right? So,
Yeah.
where, what advice do you have for that guy that's just sitting there? Maybe they've got $10 that they're going to spend on video this year, and they don't even want to spend that. What would you tell them?
The we're in an age, and every new generation is different. But we've had our phase where it was advertise, and people tried to come up with ways to sell, 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 sell. This is why I'm the best, and this is why I'm different. We're coming upon an age where a new generation has a healthy level of skepticism. They want to see stuff. They want to see behind the scenes. They want to see what it is about you that's real and what's raw. And the only way you do that is you lift up the hood and you share with them a little bit in the life. I mean, you look at it right now, you think about content. There's so many people out there who want to share the day in the life. There's so many big people, big stars, people who are big that are revealing behind the scenes of what's going on in their life or parts of their life. And I'm not saying that you need to reveal your personal life, but as a business that you are being trusted to go into people's homes, that's a very intimate space, or you're being trusted to be in their personal space, their property. It's to your advantage to build a kind of a pathway or a cadence where you share something that's special about you. That's all you really have that makes you unique. It's not that you tighten, you set your bait box at this angle versus that angle, and that separates you. Anybody can do that, but your story and how you came to be, what you do differently in terms of because of your upbringing or what got you into the trades, that's the only thing that you have that makes you unique. Processes and systems can be copied, right? And especially with, AI, right now you can copy a lot of processes. But the thing that makes you unique is your story. And that's what connects people. That's the part of the essence of relationships is you think about and you find your significant other, you guys get pulled together because there's certain pieces of your life that built you in a certain way that that person likes and they value. And that's a micro scale, but at a bigger scale, that's a company as well. A company has an identity, it has a personality style, a type. And when you get good, when you get good at just being able to share a little bit of your essence of who you are as a business and what really it is about you that makes you you, then people can resonate with that. Because people, I'll give you an example. I think it's Gary V, and I don't mean to go down the whole the path of the influencer, but Gary V, I think he's a Knicks fan. Like he likes the Knicks. That has nothing to do with business or anything about him, but that's a little bit of a unique kind of piece about him. He's a Knicks fan, or actually, I think it's Jets. I think it's the New York Jets. You may get somebody's attention just because of that. That's something that you resonate with you, and it's something you connect with. For me, I grew up I grew up in Detroit. I grew up in a very humble beginning. I did not have a lot to start with it at all, and I had a lot of setbacks throughout my life to get me to where I'm at right now. And people may resonate with that. They may see me and say, "Oh yeah, he's like one of us. He wasn't born with the silver spoon. He was born from grit, cast by fire, So I think those are the pieces that are important, that makes your brand you. That's that unique part.
Yeah, no, I like that. I was talking to Gary V 2 months ago, and me and him connected on Star Wars, right? So he got on the call with me, and I had a Star Wars helmet, and and I got his attention, right? And so because there was more than one person on that call, but we connected over Star Wars. So you're exactly right. We're going to connect with people. Be you, don't be fake. People can read through that. They got seconds to determine when they're seeing this video content or whatever you're putting out there, whether they're going to connect with it or not. You're exactly right. But the one thing's for certain, if you're not being a little bit transparent, not about everything, by what you're putting out there about your brand, what you're allowing to be filmed, or what stories you're telling, you're not going to get a whole lot of trust.
Yeah.
People do read reviews. And like you were saying, and this was a statistic that blew me away, is more people are watching YouTube on their TV now than on phones. They're
Wow.
watching more YouTube on the TV than on a phone. And that kind of blew me away. And that was a recent statistic that I'm like, wow, we really need to focus in on this, having a better strategy on some of these tools like YouTube, right? And I think that as costs go up in the marketing arena, especially on Google costs, we need other places to play, even though Google owns YouTube. If we have a content that's out there, like the shorts that you're talking about, they give you a lot of free views. And I know this from running my own channel with this podcast. Every podcast episode, there's going to be a couple of them with Alex on it. We're going to cut them up and we're going to put it out on socials. But I know that that'll get more play than probably this podcast. That's kind of an interesting thought. So those don't take if you put the time in to make one good piece of content, cut it up, use it in different pieces. And it's really along the lines of what you're talking about: establishing trust, helping people with their brand, connecting with the community. I love that. If you take anything back, is your story is connecting with the community, building
Yep.
that up. So you've shared some really good nuggets today on what you're doing, privately funding this thing. Wow. What does this look like for you in 2026?
I think 2026, the thing that I realized with 2025, the second half of the year, as I kicked this off, was a good test that people appreciate what I'm doing and they like what I'm doing off the platforms like YouTube and stuff and on the platforms. So I think the biggest thing that I'm focused on for this year is refining the storytelling. I have a few. I won't talk too much about them yet. Let's say we're going to be honoring, people that are underrepresented in the trades. So I'll leave that teaser out there in a few ways, and I think that's going to be beautiful. But I think also this year, what I realized from the efforts that we're doing is we just got to get the word out there is distribution, because when people see our content, they're enjoying it, but not enough people are seeing what we're doing. And we want to make sure that every community that we're involved in at this point in time, we are giving them a chance to maximize and put that in front of everybody. I like the idea. I was talking to the next episode is a plumbing episode. It's the first plumbing episode that we've ever launched, and I was letting him know that the episode was going to drop next week. And I gotta. It's okay if I can cuss on here, right? A little bit. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I guess we can edit it. I got a hell yeah. He was so
Yeah.
he was so excited to see he's so excited to see what it is going to become. And also along the road, like with this plumbing episode, it's done over probably over, I have to calculate the number, over 10, 15,000 views on his videos in the past week and a half since we've started like dropping stuff out there. So it's cool that I get to do that and have an impact on a business owner, and his family, his friends get to see it, and nobody's ever thought to just do that. And I think being able to carry on and do more of that at a bigger scale is going to be exciting. It's already been super exciting. I feel like I'm living in a David Attenborough a video or a movie. I feel like I'm living in my own movie right now, because I get to see the behind the scenes of the videos before they become what they become, and also see the excitement that everybody has on their face when I share their work, what they're doing, the magic behind the scenes for them, making people, like mini stars, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that there's a lot of feel good with it, right? When you get in there and start doing this stuff. Love what you're doing. Glad we met at Pest World. I can't wait to catch up with you here at the end of 2026. We're at Pest World again. The trades is the trades, and there's a lot of heroes in the trades, and those stories need to be told, especially for connecting that trust factor in a trustless society we're growing up in. That trust keeps dropping, right? That's what it's showing. And we really need to build that up. And this is a really good thing to be thinking about as you move into 2026, about how you're going to tell your story. Even if Legendary doesn't come out there and film you, how are you going to tell your story? Be thinking about that. Look for different ways to hook people with the storytelling that you're doing. If you're a funny person, make sure you have those funny stories. Connect with people on that level. If you're more serious and technical, show the technical stuff you're doing. There's a lot of different ways to connect, and those numbers and that media is going to help you. I know we've been producing videos for a very long time, and it cracks me up how we filmed testimonials 7 years ago that still get played today. Still get played today.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing that you could create a case study or something you did, your work, and still be getting the accolades from it years later. Not that it's an accolade piece, but it's just something that you're proud of doing, right? That you went out there and did. So be thinking about that. I think you gave us some really good advice. And Alex, I'm sure we're going to be seeing you again and talking to you more in the future. But thanks for joining us on the SwarmCast. And I'm sure that we're going to hear back from you. I'll do a couple posts out there on social, and we'll catch up later on in 2026. And thanks for being the last guest of the year and making some time for us today. Okay.
Awesome. No, glad to be. Thank you for having me.
All right, on, man. We'll talk to you later. I'll make sure you get a copy of this, and feel free to distribute it on your channels as well.
Yep, will do.
That's That's a wrap on this episode of SwarmCast. Thanks for tuning in and arming yourself with the marketing firepower to keep your pest control business thriving. Before you scurry off, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. It helps us spread like a well-placed bait station. Got a topic you want us to tackle? Drop us a line and let's keep the conversation buzzing. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strategic, and keep swarming the market.